There's been a lot of bad quarterback play going on in the NFL this year, but there are 5 teams right now that are in quarterback purgatory, and I want to tell you guys which teams could be eyeballing a quarterback in next year's draft class. Starting off with the Carolina Panthers, we were just talking about how fans are now clamoring for Bryce Young to take over the QB1 spot from Andy Dalton, and we've seen enough out of Bryce Young to know that this brother is not the answer moving forward for the Carolina Panthers. Andy Dalton, he's giving them a competent quarterback play, but he's not good enough to be the franchise QB for this roster or for this team with how old he is, and he's nothing more but a bridge quarterback at best. You know, the Panthers, they definitely are going to be in the running to draft the quarterback in next year's draft. Probably either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders will be my prediction for who they take. But either way, they're in quarterback purgatory. They got to find a big-time upgrade in the offseason once this season concludes. The Tennessee Titans, the Will Levis experiment has been a giant disappointment. The brother does nothing but just give out free Christmas gifts every single week against any team he plays. You want to know something funny? I had a homeboy that picked the Tennessee Titans to beat the Green Bay Packers a few weeks ago. And I told him, why are you betting money on Will Levis? You know what he told me? He said, well, as long as Will Levis doesn't have any turnovers that turn into points, he'll be fine. And what do you know? Will Levis in that game against Green Bay, he throws a pick 6 to Jair Alexander. The Will Levis experiment has to end. Mason Rudolph isn't even any better than what Will Levis is. He may take better care of the football, but he doesn't really do too much for you to move the needle for the Titans offensively. You need a quarterback in next year's draft. Probably Shedeur Sanders will be my pick. Because, you know, Ran Carthon, it does seem like he would be a guy who would have a strong liking towards Shedeur. He wouldn't really care about the personality concerns that people have about him. And Brian Callahan, I don't think he's a bad head coach. I think he's a pretty good play caller. He just has a quarterback who just doesn't know how to take care of the football. Next up, I got the Cleveland Browns. Listen, the Cleveland Browns are the definition of what it means to be in quarterback purgatory because you got Deshaun Watson, who's been stinking up the joint every single game he started in as the quarterback for Cleveland. He's scamming your franchise for $230 million. You know, he has all of these sexual assault lawsuits going on off the field. So not only is he a bad quarterback, but he is a bad person as well, and it doesn't seem like he's that well liked by his teammates, contrary to, you know, how they tend to back him up in the media, because when you just see the way that those players talk to Deshaun and how they look at him in the huddle, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of mutual respect between the two parties. And plus, how can you like a guy that isn't giving you the best chance to make plays if you're Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy? And the reality of the situation is that Deshaun Watson is holding back the Cleveland Browns, and they refuse to bench him because the ownership wants to try to do everything they can to get their money's worth. When they gave him all that money and they traded the farm to get him, the Browns just need to cut their losses, probably do what the Denver Broncos did last year with Russell Wilson. Go ahead, cut him for a record dead cap hit and just move on, because at this point, you're not going forward. You're only going backwards. You went from being a 10-plus win team last year with Joe Flacco, making it to the postseason, to all of a sudden being one of the worst teams in the NFL because you continue to allow this tragedy at quarterback to play every single week for you underneath center. The Cleveland Browns, they're in quarterback hell right now. Purgatory for the Browns is an understatement. They are in quarterback hell. They are in the gulag when it comes to quarterback play. And even if you do end up putting yourself in a position where you could draft a quarterback next year or trade up for one, which are the top quarterbacks would realistically want to play for a franchise that historically quarterbacks go to die? You know, the Browns right now, they got the worst quarterback situation in the entirety of the NFL. Because, I mean, like, as bad as what Daniel Jones and Will Levis are, at least you're not financially handicapped to those guys to where you have no choice but to start them, regardless of how bad they may be. The Las Vegas Raiders, their quarterback situation isn't as bad as what the Browns is, but they're not too far off. Yeah, they're not paying anybody $230 fully guaranteed, but I mean, Aidan O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, they simply aren't it. You already benched Gardner Minshew, and you replaced him with Aidan O'Connell, and AOC didn't look that good against Pittsburgh. You're probably going to go back to Gardner Minshew within the next couple of weeks, and Antonio Pierce already knew that going into this year what he was getting himself into. They really wanted Jaden Daniels. It's been well sourced. Word reported that they tried to do everything in their power to try to trade up, to move up to get Jaden Daniels, and they weren't able to land them. They probably wanted Michael Penix as well, and the Falcons, of course, they screwed that up for the Raiders. So you knew that this was going to be tough sledding for you this season, not having good quarterback play. And now, you know, with Devontae Adams wanting out, and now it's reported that he may come back, all this is going to do is further add fire to the situation, because Devontae Adams, I don't think he doesn't like playing for the Raiders. I just think that he doesn't like the current quarterback situation. And until the Raiders are able to improve it, you know, like, this team is going to continue to struggle. And I said it before this season started that it was going to be tough for the Raiders to win more than 6 games this year, considering how tough their schedule is. You play a lot of the NFL's best quarterbacks this year. 2 of them reside in the same division as you. And secondly, you know, it's hard to win a lot of football games in today's NFL by just relying on a great ground game and a hard-nosed defense. So until the Raiders get a good quarterback in there, they're going to continue to be a laughingstock in the NFL for years to come. But it looks like, you know, with how their season is panning out, they could have the first overall pick, and they could put themselves in position to get Shedeur Sanders. And lastly, we got the New York Giants. Now, out of all of the teams on this list, the Giants' quarterback situation isn't as bad as the 4 other teams that I have on here. You know, Daniel Jones, he's been a lot better than what most expected. Okay, I think we can all agree with that. But a few nights ago, I was watching Giants-Bengals Sunday Night Football, and I was looking at Danny Pennies, and I was just saying, you know, like, you can't be the Giants starting quarterback next year. You just can't. Like, you're not bad, but you're not good enough to lead this franchise to glory. You know, he was overthrowing open wide receivers downfield. He can't make tight window throws against tight man-to-man coverage. You know, he's the definition of what it means to be an average, mediocre quarterback. You're only as good as what your situation is. Brian Dable, his play calling has been pretty good. The offensive line has improved. They've given him Malik Neighbors, who's been the best rookie wide receiver so far this year. You got Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, the Giants got a pretty solid team. But Daniel Jones, it's just, he just isn't good enough, to put it lightly. And they got to find another quarterback like a Shedeur or a Cam Ward that can be a game changer for them. Because if you get a good quarterback in there, not only could you compete for this division, but you possibly could be a future contender in the NFC, because the Giants have drafted really well. They got a lot of good players on the defense side of football. They've done a good job when it comes to acquiring talent, but they've been hindered with the bad decision to give Daniel Jones that contract extension a few off seasons ago. And we knew that Daniel Jones did not deserve that money, but the Giants ownership saw a lot of Eli Manning in this dude, and I don't know what shades of Eli Manning they saw in Daniel Jones, but he don't look like no damn Eli Manning to me. So, if anything, he looks like the Dollar Tree version of Eli Manning. But these are the 5 NFL teams that are in quarterback purgatory. They need to do something about their quarterback situations ASAP rather resulting in them having to draft one, trade for in the free agency, but their quarterback situations right now are not good. Hey man, have you hit that like button yet? Have you subscribed to the channel? Because if not, what are you doing? It only takes less than a second to do so, man. I love football. You love football. This is the best place to be if you are a diehard fan of football, man. We're talking NFL, college football, 24/7, 365 days a year. If you are a diehard football fan, this is the right place for you. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so you don't miss when we drop new content, and go live.